Okay, dear Dhamma friends, we have come to the Dhamma sermon of this English medium retreat. May you give your consent by saying Sadhu Sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Attime bhikkhave dhamma bhavita bahuli kata apara parangamanaya samvattanti iti. Dear Dhamma friends, as a practice we are making a Dhamma sermon which actually have different advantages, different benefits. One thing is that it gives us fair amount of encouragement, confidence that we are traveling in the same path Buddha has admonished 2600 years ago. And again, if we have any sort of doubts in our mind, that also will be reduced, so that it also will be eliminated when we understand the Buddha's teaching, and when we understand that our practice really accords with what Buddha has mentioned. And again, sometimes if we don't know certain aspects of the Dhamma, and we would be able to understand them, and accordingly we can handle the path, or we can amend the path that we have taken. So likewise, there are many benefits in understanding the Buddha's teaching. So in this retreat, we have taken a particular sutta which is available in Magga Sangyutta, where Buddha has explained the practice, particularly explained the practice which we are actually undertaken. Because understanding Buddha's teaching is one aspect, but really progressing in the path, really practically practicing the path is another aspect. Because Suttame Jnana, that is the book knowledge, what we have gained is one aspect, but putting it into practice is another aspect. So there are many people who listen to Dhamma, study books, but they don't try to practically live according to the truth, or live according to the Buddha's teaching. And there are other people who don't know much, but they are trying their best to live according to the teaching. And there are still another group of people who know Buddha's teaching, as well as they try their best to live according to the teaching. So we therefore have various benefits of knowing the teaching as well as practicing according to it. So that is why we are trying to explore certain aspects of the Buddha's teaching. So this particular sutta, called Parangama Sutta, is available in Magga Sangyutta. That is in Sangyutta Nikaya, Connected Discourses of the Buddha, where a collection of practice-related sermons are accumulated. Parangama literally means that you are going to the other shore. You are crossing the river or crossing the shore, so that you will be end up with onto the other shore. So there's a beautiful verse in this sutta. I will start with that. Buddha is telling, Appakate manussesu ye jana paragamino athayam itara paja tira mevanu dhavati. So this is a kind of a very broad kind of elaboration that Buddha is making about the whole population. What he is telling is, Appakate manussesu ye jana paragamino. Only very little, only a handful of people who are going to the other shore. Athayang itara paja tira mevanu dhavati. The vast majority are simply running across, running up and down in the same bank. So if you understand, if you consider the whole vast population of the whole world, majority is simply seeking after pleasures, seeking sensual pleasures, and obsessed in various ways of thinking. But only very few are trying their best to go across the river, go to the far shore, go to the other shore. Because others are really, the vast majority don't have time. They are very busy. If you invite them to come to Kalalgoda, so they simply say, I am busy, I have to go to a wedding, I have to go to a party, I have to go to a meeting, I have to go to my daughter's something, my son's something, whatever it is. So they don't think, or they don't assume that whatever understanding themselves or whatever spiritual seeking is not something important. So they have various other priorities. So they simply running up and down. So vast majority is like that. So we too were like that actually. It is not that we are already on the other shore. We are still trying hard. So basically Buddha's sort of overview about the whole population, Buddha is telling the majority of people are simply going up and down. Only a very few are going to the other shore. So this Parangama Sutta, in that sense, giving us some sort of a picture like many people on this shore and only few are crossing to the other shore. So this is a kind of a Parangama. So having such view in our mind, having such a picture in our mind, now Buddha is telling, Attime bhikkhave dhamma bhavita bahuli kata apara parangamanaya samvattanti. Monks, there are 8 factors or 8 principles if one develops that helps to cross to the other shore. Now, in one sense, Buddha is telling there are vast majority simply going up and down in this shore and only very little go to the other shore. And on the other hand, Buddha is telling there are 8 factors. If you well develop, then it will lead you to the other shore. Now Buddha is trying to tell us, so what are these factors if one develops which will help us to cross the shore, go to the other side. So that's why giving a kind of a pictorial view of the whole situation of this humankind, now Buddha is giving us certain indications or certain directions and how to implement it, how to involve in this journey. Ultimately we will end up on the other side, on the other shore, rather than going up and down into the same shore. Because if we consider our whole journey in this whole long samsara, this is not our first birth. Hope you all understand that. Hope you all believe that. So this is not our first birth. So we all have different skills. We all have different past accumulations, past karma. So that's why we have different variations. Otherwise, we as human beings has to have the same model, same kind, same way of thinking, same skills. But all of us are very different. That indicates we have some different sources. We have different accumulations. We have different karma. We have different skills which are related to what we did in the past. So these different skills, even if you consider the same brother and 2 brothers of the same family, may be born at the same time, twins, but they are very different. Why? It is not because of some physical aspects, rather they are gaining something, they are inheriting something coming from very, very far past. So this only have one answer, that is that we are traversing in this whole samsara mostly up and down in the same shore, not crossing to the other side. So fortunately in this life we got the opportunity to at least to listen Dhamma, and again now we are trying to practice according to Dhamma. And now Buddha is teaching us what are these 8 factors if we well develop, which is capable of leading us to the other shore. So this 8 factors is nothing but the Noble Eightfold Path, which is very familiar. Samma Ditti, the right view. Samma Sankappa, the right thought or right intention. Samma Vacha, the right speech. Samma Kammanta, right work or right action. Samma Ajiva, right livelihood. Samma Vayama, right effort. Samma Sati, right mindfulness, and Samma Samadhi, right concentration. So we were discussing about these 8 factors one by one. So far we covered 2 factors, Samma Ditti and Samma Sankappa. So Samma Ditti has 2 aspects. If I summarize a little, so Buddha is telling that Samma Ditti has 2 aspects, 2 sides. One is onto the mundane side, and on the other side is the supramundane, where one establish oneself in doing good, thinking that my actions bear fruits in the future according to whether it is wholesome or unwholesome. So establishing ourselves in this Kamma, faith in Kamma, is one aspect of Dhamma. So you can't tell immediately that there is no self, so there is no being, no source here, so therefore it doesn't matter either I do good, either I do wrong or right, doesn't matter. You can't say like that, because as the very ground we have to establish ourselves in the faith of Kamma till we become fully enlightened. All the actions what we do mostly have the potential to create new Kamma. So typically we think, even though we have very deep understanding of non-self, still when we are reacting, still when we are intentionally do something, so it bears fruits. So therefore it is impossible to avoid that kind of future result simply because of understanding of non-self. Rather we need to penetrate the Dhamma, rather we need to go through fair amount of practice, then only we may be able to achieve some sort of a practice where we may be able to live in a way not to generate new karma. So that's a kind of advanced kind of a task that a typical person, worldly person on the other side, it's difficult to do. Because whenever we are thinking, whenever we are reacting, whenever we are speaking, and whenever we are acting, mostly it has the potential to create new karma. As a result, we will be reborn. As a result, we may be reaping various results. So, but on the other hand, if we understand that either we have future life or not, if we are well behaving, if we are well speaking, so the benefit is to ourselves. So establishing ourselves in that understanding, that moral ground, is one aspect. Kammasakata Sammaditthi, where we believe in Kamma till we fully become enlightened. Whatever the actions we do may bear fruits because we have certain amount of ignorance, avidya. And on the other hand, Buddha is telling the supramundane type of Sammaditthi, where you are leading to another domain where not accumulating anything, not accumulating any karma, but going to a kind of a supramundane level, and it is free from fetters, free from any kind of accumulations, free from any kind of karma generation, and you are living a kind of a very relaxed, very free supramundane path. So that is kind of a fairly advanced teaching, and that is what Buddha explains it as Lokottara Sammaditthi, supramundane right view. And then we discuss about Samma Sankappa, that is the right intention, because Sankappa has different aspects. If we consider the Miccha side, the wrong side, so it may be various sensual intentions, it may be intention towards harming another person, it may be an intention towards doing bad to another person, it may be an intention towards sort of an ill will. So different such intentions are there. Kama Sankappa, Vyapada Sankappa, Vihinsa Sankappa. So these are some intentions that everybody may have. But on the other hand, there are the proper side or the wholesome side, that one can cultivate the wholesome instead of kama sankappa, one can develop nekkamma sankappa. Sort of ideas or intention of renunciation, giving up, letting go, donating. Such kind of letting go side, renunciation side, instead of having sort of a greed, one may be get into the donation side, giving up side, generosity. So all these are in a way nekkamma sankappa. On the other hand, instead of ill will, vyapada, one can develop metta, loving kindness. That is the abhyapada. So where one does not bear any kind of angry or any kind of ill will towards another person, instead one have immeasurable sort of loving kindness to all the human beings, all the beings, not relevant to any specific group, your only family members, only particular nationality, or any sort of such group. Instead, one may have a very broader mindset where you are wishing the best, wishing the health, wishing the goodwill to every being, all the beings. So that is fairly opening of mind. So typically if we consider our minds are very narrow. We may like our family members to grow, but not the neighbors. We may wish our nationality to grow, not another nationality. We may wish our country to grow, not another country. So likewise, we have very narrow-minded attitudes. But on the other hand, if one develops loving kindness, so we are broadening our scope of the mind, and we are coming to a situation where we have no boundaries at all. We are not narrowing our attention, no, we are not narrowing our wish to any group, any nationality, any country. Rather, we are wishing the best to everyone. Doesn't necessary to be human beings, everybody, every being, so one has unlimited, immeasurable kind of loving kindness. So that becomes one of the great teaching of the Buddha, and it is like a Brahma. So that's called Brahma Vihara Bhavana. Yeah, you have loving kindness meditation, or you have altruistic joy, mudita, or you may have compassion, karuna, or you have upekka, equanimity towards all human beings, all living beings. So this is a kind of a broadening of the mind. So this is kind of an opening, this kind of a broadening, because rather than constricting ourselves to a very limited scope, restricting our mind to a very narrow area, now we are slowly broadening our understanding, broadening our view. So ultimately, mind becomes very free even through this kind of practice. You may still have fetters underneath, but at least temporarily you can have this kind of wide open mind. So this is called Ceto Vimutti, freeing of mind. So these are actually very beautiful teachings of the Buddha, where we can combine with this Samma Sankappa, where you can develop, instead of ill will, you can develop the loving kindness. And on the other hand, instead of developing hinsa or the harm towards another person, you become very harmless. So the others can trust you. Others may not feel frightened being with you. So likewise, the Sankappa has this kind of understanding where your attitude, your intention become entirely different than the typical, very selfish, very restricted, very narrow sort of one. So Samma Sankappa therefore help us to develop ourselves, have proper intentions, have proper aims, guidance in our mind. So when we have proper guidance in our mind, when we have proper aim in our mind, when we have proper intention in our mind, it helps us to lead into a more broader or more wisdom-based path. Now, these two aspects therefore called the wisdom aspect or wisdom training, Panya Sikha. Samma Ditti and Samma Sankappa actually are the two factors in Noble Eightfold Path completing the wisdom side. Now we have to cover, or we have to go through the other sides. Next one is called the Sila Sikha, the restrainment part, morality part. So morality part actually in Noble Eightfold Path has 3 path factors: Samma Vacha, Samma Kammanta, Samma Ajiva. So morality, when we consider morality, sometimes people don't like to talk about it, because we may like to meditate but not much about morality. So there are many Westerners, there are many other spiritual seekers, they are very keen on meditation, but when it comes to morality, they don't think it is important. But on the other hand, Buddha mentions that his teaching is based on morality. So when one of the God, celestial being, come and ask from the Buddha how to disentangle this whole complicated, entangled humankind, then Buddha says that the Sile Patittaya Narosapanyo, Chittang Panyancha Bhavaya. First of all, Buddha is telling one should establish oneself on morality. Sile Patittaya. Then only Chittam Panyancha Bhavaya. Then one develops Samadhi, then one develops Panya. So therefore, we can't think that morality is sort of a lower grade and the Samadhi and Panya as the upper grades. Like morality becomes the kindergarten and then the Samadhi becomes the advanced level and Panya becomes the university level. You can't tell like that. So all these 3 training are helping each other. So morality helps concentration, concentration helps wisdom, wisdom helps again morality, again wisdom helps concentration. So likewise these 3 components, 3 sikkha, 3 trainings actually have interdependencies. So therefore you can't avoid, or you can't reduce it to you can't reduce it further in sense. That's why Buddha has taken 8 components and combine it as 3 components, as 3 trainings, Sila, Samadhi, Panya, because they are interrelated. There's a beautiful story happened during the Buddha's time, where one Brahmin came along with his students. So he's a very well respected Brahmin, and so they come together to meet the Buddha, and he's called Sonadanda, and therefore Buddha is asking one question. So since he's a good teacher, renowned teacher, and he is asking what are the key factors when you to define a good Brahmin. So then he is telling there are 5 factors. One is that he has to have morality, he is maintaining good code of ethics, and he is very wise, he knows what to do, he has the proper understanding, and he is well versed in the Vedas. They have various book knowledge, the teaching of the Brahmins, and then he is coming from a good lineage. So his father's side, mother's side are all Brahmins. On to the 7th generation, they are coming like that, very pure from the origin. And again, he looks very good. He looks very beautiful, very smart looking, not bad looking. So these are 5 factors what this Brahmin is telling. So then Buddha is giving a little challenge. So if I were to ask you, okay, please give me 4 factors, 5 is too much, which one he first dropped? So the looking, just what your females are trying the best. So Brahmin drops the first that. Not Buddha, but Buddha agreed that maybe. So the outer look is something he first dropped. Rupappamana. This outer look he dropped first. Now we have 4 factors. So then Buddha asks, okay, now we have 4 factors. Could you drop another one? Then he dropped the generations. So mother's side, father's side, so coming from all the very sort of pure generation, so this is not a must, so he dropped that. So we have 3. Now Buddha is asking now to drop another one, so he dropped that book knowledge. Now we have 2 factors, and then Buddha is giving the challenge, now can you reduce it to further? Then Brahmin thought a little and he said no. He said that Panya and Sila are interdependent. You can't drop Panya or you can't drop morality. Wisdom and morality go hand in hand. If we drop Sila, say what? Wisdom is not real wisdom. It may be knowledge and you can give various terms, but it is not the wisdom. So if we simply drop wisdom, then the morality becomes sort of customs or rituals, has no proper ground. So Buddha therefore tells, and actually the Brahmin also tells, Silavato panyang, panyavato sila. For the real wise person, the morality is available. For a moral person, wisdom is available. So these 2 are very interdependent. Now actually, nowadays, if you consider the whole typical system, sorry to say, the education system, now we are going after knowledge, but not wisdom. So we simply forget about the morality, so end up with knowledge, has no moral ground. So there are many scientists, many well-educated people, but doing really dirty things because has no moral ground. So if we consider our own kind of education, now you may be thinking of having good child at the say college level, at the school level, but once you go to the university, we don't talk much about the morality. So we allow the children to behave as the way they like. We never talk much about the moral aspects. Time to time, very seldom we may have sort of a sila, what is this, once a year, sila vyapara or something like that, but very unlikely. Only the Buddhist society may come there, but not the majority. So likewise, when we are going to the higher education, slowly we drop this moral side. We are going after knowledge. Now, gaining knowledge is not a big deal these days because of the communication, because of the information technology. Now, knowledge is fairly available, but having knowledge does not indicate that he is a moral person. So, but on the other hand, Buddha's teaching, talking about wisdom, that has moral aspect and that has knowledge aspect as well, but it has more deeper wisdom aspect, which is fairly depending on the morality and again depending on the concentration. That's why Sila Samadhi Panya behaving like 3 stones where all 3 are necessary. So without concentration you can't do fair amount of wisdom development, typically to say vipassana practice, because if your mind is shaky, if your mind is wavering, if your mind is diffused, scattered, you can't observe the phenomena for quite a long time. Because for you to develop fair amount of understanding, it is necessary to have long observation, fair amount of continuous observation. Then only one would be able to understand the reality. So that needs concentration. But on the other hand, in order to develop concentration, you need fair amount of morality, because if our mind don't have morality, if it is lacking morality, then our mind, we ourselves have some sort of a remorse, some sort of a guilt coming from ourselves, telling that I am not worthy of this spiritual growth, I am not worthy of this practice, I have done various bad things. I was not behaving well. I did something wrong. So likewise, our mind is constantly sort of accusing ourselves, telling that various bad things I did in the past. So if, on the other hand, if one has very well grounded in morality, then we have the opposite, telling that I deserve this path. Now I am a good person. Now I have deserved this path. All the benefits, all the bliss or pleasures, or all these very sublime states are capable. Actually, I am deserving them now because I am a good person. So this kind of a right attitude, this kind of a positive attitude becomes a must in this practice. Because when we have such a environment in our mind, then it makes kind of a conducive factors to develop concentration. Because Buddha is telling, actually Venerable Ananda is asking the question from the Buddha, for what purpose this sila is, for what purpose this morality is. Then Buddha is telling, avippatisaratta ananda kusalani silani. This morality is for this avoidance of remorse, avoidance of guilt in the mind. So when we don't have any kind of guilt feeling, if we don't have any kind of remorse in the mind, then we are fairly happy. We feel that we are very positive. We feel that we deserve the results. We feel that I am a capable person. We feel that I am a skillful person. I am a sort of a wholesome person. Then the path is available. Then we can develop further. So therefore, morality becomes part and parcel of the whole practice. And based on that, one may be further developing concentration. And concentration is further being used to develop wisdom. Actually, it doesn't mean that we are coming to the 100% or the perfection of morality in order to develop concentration. Rather, we establish ourselves in good morality and then we start developing concentration. And then we develop, say, wisdom, and the wisdom will tell us where we are lacking, what is missing, or where we have gone wrong, what are the drawbacks in our morality. Then further we can strengthen ourselves. So likewise, the wisdom helps us to further strengthen our morality, and because of strengthened morality, it helps us to maintain fair amount of concentration, unbroken concentration. And that concentration further helps us to develop wisdom. So likewise, it has fairly very beautiful intertwined kind of a relationship where all these three training are helping each other. So morality, therefore, not kind of a burden. At the beginning, it appears like a burden that we are limiting ourselves. I can't speak the way I like. I can't behave the way I like. I am being burdened. I am being bounded by certain restrictions. So it appears like some sort of a boundary. Appears like some sort of burden at the beginning. Say, for example, lay people simply have 5 precepts. Now, if you go to temple to observe sila, then you may have to undertake 8 precepts. Sometimes you have to give up money and not using luxurious beds and other furniture. So then you have to get into 10 precepts. And then if you become a monk or nun, then there are many precepts. So altogether it becomes like, at the beginning it appears like kind of a burden, because you have lost the freedom. But when with the time, this living, the way of living becomes very normal. It becomes your norm. Even though it appears like a burden or restriction at the beginning, but more and more you try your best to adhere to them. More and more you live according to the sila, according to the morality, then it becomes quite a natural way of living. It is no more a burden, no more a restriction, but it becomes a protection. At the beginning it appears like restriction, but later it becomes a protection for you. Because without such protection, you can't further move forward. Because this protection actually help us to well ground ourselves, to have unwavering samadhi, and it help us to have deeper wisdom. So therefore, morality more and more, as you live according to it, becomes very natural. So therefore it is said, for the noble people, morality becomes something inherent. It is not that they are protecting it with lot of effort, rather it has become part and parcel of themselves. Say for example, Sotapanna, the stream winner, it is said the 5 precepts becomes their norm. It is not possible for them to break 5 precepts in a way which lead into the hell realm. On putting to the other side, so suppose someone breaking precepts, and it can lead to even to the hell realms. But for a stream winner, this cannot go to such kind of an extreme, which he can't break precepts to the level which will lead him to the hell realm. So likewise, there's a fair amount of diluting of moha, dosa and lobha, dosa, moha, greed, hatred, delusion in his mind, where he is now incapable of going to the hell realm. So that indicates that the morality becomes inherent to him now. It becomes kind of an effortless way of living, not like a restriction, not like a burden. Rather, it is kind of a very beautiful way of behavior. So there are various suttas explaining that the 5 precepts becoming one of a inherent quality of an Arya, inherent quality of a noble person, where because he is inherently protecting these 5 precepts, now he becomes fairly harmless. So others start to trust him. Others start to sort of not making, or they don't even feel frightened by being with them. So likewise, there are many benefits that we typically don't see. We think that we may be getting benefits, but others are also getting a lot of benefits when we are maintaining morality. Now, if we come to today's topic, that is Samma Vacha, so here actually we are talking about the speech side. Not to the bodily action, but mainly to the speech, where this is in one sense very unique to human being, and the devas maybe also. Because in the animal realm, speech is very much not popular. I mean, you can't hear telling that 2 dogs are speaking false speech or something like that. But in the humankind, majority we speak maybe false speech. If you go to little closer towards the, Pitakotte area, false speech. So likewise the majority, false speech. But now we are going to fairly other side, where we are trying to maintain right speech, maintain sort of truth instead of false speech. And not only that, then Buddha is talking about what you call the Pisuna Vacha, slanderous speech, and then Parusa Vacha, harsh speech, and then Sampappalapa, idle chatter. Now, if we consider false speech alone, it has a lot, because even though we as humans have this very beautiful skill, that is to communicate among ourselves, how well are we using it? How well are we using it to the benefit of ourselves and to the benefit of others? So this is actually something that we don't sometimes think. We sometimes think about the bodily behavior, but not giving much attention to the verbal behavior. But majority lot of conflicts are happening because of the verbal issues or the speech issues, not much related to the actions, not the bodily actions. Bodily actions are fairly rough, therefore at least people try to behave, but not much concerned about what they speak. So therefore, when it comes to right speech, especially the speaking the truth becomes one very important aspect of this spiritual path. Probably you might have heard the Buddha as a bodhisattva. Before he became the Buddha, in the long samsara, after he was destined or very much determined to become the Buddha, for long samsara, he might have broken other precepts. Maybe the killing animals, maybe stealing, maybe sexual misconduct, maybe taking intoxicants, different things. But have never lied, but have never used false speech. It's not an easy task if you consider. It's not an easy task. Now, say for example, for us to behave bodily, say if you want to decide, I am not stealing. If for us to decide, I am not killing animals. It is not a very difficult thing to do in that way. If you want to avoid any sort of killing, intentional killing, that we can do it. It is not possible. We can do it. But being truthful, very mindful about what we are talking, it is not something very easy. Because the false speech can happen in different ways. Suppose you are working in a marketing company. Probably you might have to exaggerate the situation. Suppose there may be a product given to you to market, and instead of you are telling the real value of it, real benefit of it, you can sort of enhance it, or you can exaggerate it and tell the buyers or tell the customers. So can we say that we did the correct thing? Is it possible for us to tell that we were truthful? So there are likewise very some marginal areas that we have to be very careful. Are we really truthful, or are we exaggerating? Are we going to the boundary of the false speech, or are we still behaving in the truth side? So these are areas that we can think of. So therefore, maintaining truthful speech becomes one essential part of our spiritual life. Because what we are seeking, ultimately we can typically say Noble Eightfold Path, or in another sense, Four Noble Truths. So Buddha has given the terms truths there, Satya, Chaturara Satya. So there the Satya is there, truth is there. So if we are seeking the Satya, if we are seeking the truth, can we have it if we are not making the truth, if we are not speaking the truth? So it's entirely opposite. So we become sort of false speaking, lying, and cheating, at the same time searching the truth. Contradicts. The whole path contradicts. Behaving in one way, but trying to achieve the opposite. So it can't. So in that sense, it is very essential part that Buddha is giving us, with his own character, before he become enlightened. In all his samsara, after he determined to become the Buddha, he has broken other precepts, but not the fourth one, Musavada Veramani. So that is something very important that we need to understand from Buddha's character. So even at very difficult situations, don't think that he has spoken truth in a very easy, light manner. Even by risking his own life, he has told the same truth. So that is one of the very important aspect of Buddha as a teacher. There are certain situations, I'll just give a couple of examples. So there is one Jataka story. So he was a ascetic, and he has a lot of powers, a lot of ascetic powers, spiritual powers, and now he is approaching one of the kingdom, and that kingdom has the king and the queen, and this king first understood and was really pleased about this ascetic, and he invited him to come to the palace. And now he is offering a lot of food and helping him, attending him. Likewise, now the king is very trusting the ascetic. And due to some reason, he has to leave the country, he has to leave the kingdom. And what happened? So he asked his queen to look after the ascetic. Queen is very beautiful. So what happened? So when the king has gone out, so one day the ascetic is approaching the palace. Due to some reason, the queen lost the dress. So unfortunately, the ascetic was passionate, become very lustful, and so they went through the bad things. So now things were happening, the king is not available, and the message also has gone to the king. And now the whatever the situation was settled, and now king came to the palace, and then he even didn't believe all the rumors. King didn't believe the rumors because he was so trusting about the ascetic. And then he summoned the ascetic and he's asking, I got this kind of a message telling that you and the queen were not behaving well, and you all were doing bad things. Is it true? Now, so in this Jataka story, it is told, if the ascetic was telling, no, I didn't, I was well behaving, all these are really rumors, even still the king will believe it. Such trust was there. But on the other hand, if we tell the truth, now this is the king, and he has behaved badly with the queen, not with another woman. So, no excuse. Death penalty will be the result. Even that situation, the Bodhisattva, Buddha to become, has told the truth. He has mentioned, yes, Majesty, I was broken my sila, I was behaving like that. So you got to understand these are very, life critical situations. But still, even that situation, the Buddha to be, the Bodhisattva, has told the same truth. So, therefore, this truthfulness become very important aspect of our spiritual practice. So, as much as possible, therefore, we have to be very truthful even at difficult situations. But it does not mean that we are telling the truth to broken others. So, there are situations that we have to be silent. But if it is coming to our own selves, if someone is asking, even we get into troubles, if the situation is still difficult, and rather than lying, better to be truthful. So Buddha is explaining about this Musavada Veramani very beautifully. So if we go to Buddha's terms, Musavadang Pahaya, Musavada Pativirato Hoti. So Buddha is telling, so he avoids false speech and he drops the false speech. Satchavadi, he becomes kind of a truth speaker. Satcha Sandho, he becomes a reliable person. Now it's a kind of a gradual path that Buddha is telling. Now more and more one becomes a truth speaker. Now people get to know, he is speaking truth. So slowly his friends get to understand, okay, this guy is telling truth. Irrespective of he even defeat or he even lose certain things, he still tell the truth. Now slowly his close inmates going to understand the quality of this person. So now he becomes a reliable person. That's called Satcha Sandho. Then Buddha is giving another term called Thero. That means he's become a trustworthy person. Now even the others going to trust, because now his close friends and all the relatives and whoever closely associating him now telling that he's a reliable person. Now all the others, the outsiders, also start to little trust him. He becomes a trustworthy person now. And he's called, then Buddha is giving another term called Pachayiko. Pachayiko means a dependable person. Now sometimes when you want to do something, probably you can't do it alone. Probably you need to assign it to someone. But if there's a trustworthy person, if there's a dependable person, it's a real benefit, because it helps you a lot. So when he becomes a dependable person, when he becomes a trustworthy person, so then others start to trust him, others start to assign him various tasks, maybe very difficult tasks, maybe very confidential tasks, because he's now a trustworthy person. He becomes a dependable person. Then avisangvadako lokassa. That means he is not a deceiver of the world. He has no two characters. Either in private or in public, he has the same character. That's a very beautiful quality, because typically people behave in one way in public, but in private they have their own difficult way of life. But on the other hand, in Buddha's terms, Buddha is called yathavadi tathakari. Yathakari tathavadi. Whatever he tells, he do it. And whatever he does, he tell it. He has no kind of double behavior. So this is something that we have to slowly adjust ourselves. We might not be able to immediately come to this stage, but slowly we need to understand, am I hiding something? Am I behaving differently in front of others while keeping a different character within myself? It does not mean that I am revealing all my secrets, revealing all my bad behaviors in public. It means that slowly I am trying to behave in a truthful manner, trying to avoid all the bad way of actions, bodily actions, bad way of verbal actions, and as in the higher practice, trying to restrain the mind even. So that is in a way kind of an advanced practice. Completely culturing the mind, completely restraining the mind becomes a fairly advanced practice. So we might not be able to do it immediately, because even though we may not behaving lustfully through the body, mind may have a lot of lustful thoughts going on. Even though we may not harm others, there may be a lot of harmful thoughts going on in the mind. Even though we may not do sexual misconduct, a lot of bad thoughts may be going on in the mind. There may be various false kind of thoughts, thinking, cheating sort of happening in the mind, even though we may not implement it. So likewise, the bodily actions are one aspect, speech is another aspect, but restraining the mind is very delicate in that sense, fairly advanced in that sense. So it may take long practice, it may take fair amount of practice, but on the other hand, as a first step, at least we can avoid false speech. At least we can stop deliberate false speech. So therefore, this Musavada Veramani has to be one part of our practice. It is not that we are dedicating our lives to meditation, but not behaving well in morality. On the other hand, we have to have sort of a moral life as well as sort of a meditative life. So this actually helping each other. As I mentioned previously, the wisdom helps to develop morality, morality helps to develop wisdom. Put it in the other sense, Sati Sampajanya helps to develop Hiriyottappa, Hiriyottappa helps to develop 3 Sucharita. That means Sati Sampajanya, the mindfulness and clear comprehension, helps to develop Hiriyottappa. Hiriyottappa means the moral shame and moral dread. So you become now little afraid of doing bad things. So that is necessary. You feel ashamed of doing bad things. So that is necessary. So these are positive qualities. Now, sometimes we think being fearful, being frightened is sort of a kind of female quality. But in the spiritual life, having sort of dread or being afraid of doing bad is a positive quality. Ottappa. On the other hand, Hiri means being ashamed of doing bad things is a positive quality. So that develops because Sati Sampajanya. In a way, because of the development of mindfulness, because of the development of the comprehension, clear comprehension. So then it does not stop there. Then it will lead to the 3 wholesome activities. Bodily you behave in a wholesome manner, and speech you behave in a wholesome manner, and trying the best to behave well in the mind as well. Kaya sucharita, vak sucharita, mano sucharita. So that indicates, that further leads to go to the sila. Now we are actually in this Sati Sampajanya Sutta, Buddha is explaining this path. Now one may be starting meditation, one may be starting mindfulness, development of the mindfulness. But the refinement of mindfulness, development of the mindfulness, combined with clear comprehension, Sampajanya, where you are trying to spread your mindfulness, where you are trying to expand your mindfulness, even to day-to-day activities. Now you are fairly mindful throughout the day. That is where the Sampajanya comes. You are Sampajanakari hoti. You are trying to behave well, you are trying to be mindful every time, not just on your cushion. So then you become incapable of doing bad things. You feel ashamed of doing bad things. You feel afraid of doing bad things. So now get into this Hiriyottappa. As a result, come into the moral aspect. That means the Kaya Sucharita, Vachi Sucharita, Vak Sucharita. Kaya Sucharita, Vachi Sucharita, Mano Sucharita. Bodily, verbal and mental. And that leads to the morality. So therefore, different paths are available, but you can't separate. Morality and wisdom go hand in hand. So on the other hand, this Satya, the truthfulness, become one part of, or essential part of our practice, because in a way we are truth seekers. We are going in search of truth. So in order to search the truth, we first have to tell the truth. We first have to avoid cheating others, avoid deceiving others. We have to be truth speakers. Then we become Satyavadi, truth speakers. Then we become Satyasandho, we become very reliable people. Others start to trust us, we become trustworthy people. And then the other people understood that we are dependable people. They can trust ourselves. So these are not actually, sometimes people are talking about a lot of financial benefits. But when someone is to assign a kind of a very, trustworthy task to ourselves, they first has to trust us. So we have to have some sort of a behavior in order for others to understand that we are trustworthy people, that we are dependable people, that we may not deceive them, we may not cheat them. Then only we may be given some sort of a very big task, and accordingly maybe we were rewarded, maybe given a high revenue or whatever it is. But even if we are simply asking a high salary, not being a trustworthy person, not being a dependable person, it's a kind of a contradiction. So it is not that we may be extremely a well-learned person, but even onto our own capacity, If we are being a trustworthy person, if we are becoming a truthful person, if we become a reliable person, maybe your superior, maybe your whoever the CEO, whoever it is, and may start to understand, your companions will start to understand this guy is a little different. He may not deceive others, he may not cheat others, so I can trust him. So slowly, the rewarding comes in a different way. We might not immediately feel the benefits, but slowly the rewards will come in a different manner. So therefore, don't think that the truthfulness will lead you to bankruptcy, but on the other hand, it will lead you to a different kind of aspect where others start to trust you. Others start to assign you some difficult tasks, some trustworthy tasks, very reliable tasks, secrets of the company or secrets of the whatever the nationality or whatever it is, because you become a very trustworthy person, you become a dependable person. So that is, therefore, this aspect has in a way kind of a prevention side that called a varitta sila, and on the other hand we have kind of a charitta sila, that is the action side. We are avoiding false speech and again speaking the truth. Again we become reliable, again we become truthful, again we become trustworthy and dependable. So with that note, I will conclude today's Dhamma sermon. Thank you very much for attentive listening.